"You're afraid," he said, his voice cutting through her defenses like they were made of paper. "Not of me specifically. You're afraid of what happens when you stop being invisible." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs as she stared at this stranger. This dangerous, perceptive man who somehow saw through the ugly makeup, the hideous wig and all her carefully constructed barriers. "You don't know anything about me," she whispered, fingers tightening around her purse strap ready to flee. His steel-gray eyes never wavered. "I know you're wearing a wig that doesn't match your natural hair. I know your makeup was deliberately applied to make you look worse. And I know those are the choices of someone who doesn't want to be seen. Have you ever met someone who could see right through the walls you spent years building? That terrifying moment when a stranger understands you better than people who've known you your whole life? We all wear disguises, some to impress, others to disappear. But what happens when someone refuses to be fooled by yours? If you've ever felt the exhilarating terror of being truly seen for the first time, drop a heart in the comments. If you believe everyone deserves a love that sees beyond their protective armor, write, "I see you, Maya," in the comments. Stay with me till the very end to see how a woman who dressed to be invisible became the only thing a powerful man couldn't stop seeing. Some people dress to impress. Maya Jenkins dressed to repel. The fluorescent lights of the Denny's employee bathroom buzzed overhead as Maya smeared foundation 2 shades too light across her rich brown skin. The harsh lighting did her no favors, but tonight that was exactly the point. "Girl, what are you doing to your face?" Jade leaned against the bathroom doorframe, her Detroit Lions apron already stained with coffee. "You look like you're auditioning for a zombie movie." Maya deliberately smudged her eyeliner, creating dark circles that made her look exhausted rather than exotic. "That's the whole idea. This blind date Keisha set up? I want it over before it begins." She tugged at the oversized thrift store sweater that hung like a potato sack over her slender frame. The baggy jeans and scuffed boots completed her carefully crafted disaster. Her naturally beautiful curls, the ones that usually earned compliments even on her worst days, were hidden beneath a cheap wig she'd bought at the Halloween clearance sale at Target. Flat, lifeless, and utterly unflattering. "Why even go?" Jade asked, genuinely confused. "Just text him you're sick or something." Maya sighed, applying a lipstick shade that clashed horribly with her undertones. "Because Keisha won't stop. You know how she is, thinks she's Detroit's own personal matchmaker. She's convinced I need someone to take care of me." Maya's voice dripped with sarcasm as she made air quotes. "This way he'll take one look and run. Problem solved." What Maya didn't say, what she never said, was that the last man who'd taken care of her had left scars that couldn't be seen beneath her clothes. 2 years later, she still flinched at sudden movements and slept with her bedroom door barricaded with a chair wedged under the handle. Freedom had cost her everything. Her savings, her cute apartment in Midtown, even contact with her family back in Chicago. She wasn't risking that hard-won peace for anyone, especially not some random guy Keisha met at her dental office. "Well, mission accomplished," Jade said, shaking her head. "You look terrible." Maya smiled for the first time that evening. "Perfect." Across town in the upscale neighborhood of Indian Village, Vincent Moretti sat in his private office above Stellato, the most exclusive Italian restaurant in Detroit. At 40, he carried authority in the set of his shoulders and the quiet intensity of his gaze. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the Detroit River, the lights of Windsor twinkling across the water. 3 generations of Morettis had built an empire that straddled the line between legitimate business and something darker. Vincent had spent the last decade making that empire more legitimate than his father or grandfather ever dreamed possible. "The Colombians confirmed for tomorrow," his underboss Marco reported, closing the heavy oak door behind him. "They're bringing their full delegation." Vincent nodded, adjusting his platinum cufflinks, a gift from his late father. "Good. This partnership secures our shipping routes for the next decade." Marco hesitated, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "You sure about tonight? I could send someone else to this meeting." "It's not a meeting," Vincent corrected, his voice level but firm. "It's dinner. With a friend's cousin. Nothing more." Marco's expression remained skeptical. "You haven't been on a date since Sophia." "Don't." Vincent's voice carried a quiet warning that made Marco step back instinctively. Even after 3 years, the name still felt like a knife between his ribs. The truth was, Vincent had agreed to this blind date out of exhaustion. His Aunt Carmela had been relentless, showing up at Sunday dinner each week with not-so-subtle hints about the family legacy. At 40, she insisted, it was time he thought about the future of the family. After Sophia's betrayal, he'd thrown himself into work, rebuilding the family business into something that could eventually operate entirely within the law. But lately, the emptiness of his massive Tudor home in Indian Village had started to echo too loudly. The silence when he returned each night felt like another presence, following him from room to room. One dinner, he told himself as his driver pulled up to the modest diner where they'd agreed to meet, neutral territory away from his usual haunts. Then Carmela can leave me in peace. His driver, Anthony, opened the car door. Want me to wait, boss? Vincent shook his head. No need. I'll call when I'm done. The neon sign of the 24-hour diner flickered in the early evening darkness. It was the kind of place Vincent hadn't set foot in for years, the kind of place his father would have sneered at. But something about its ordinariness appealed to him tonight. No one here would know who he was. No one would be watching his every move, calculating what it meant for their position or profit. Inside, the hostess, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, led him to a corner booth. Vincent chose the seat facing the door, an old habit he'd never been able to break. He ordered coffee while he waited, checking his watch. His date was already 15 minutes late. Maya sat in her beat-up Honda Civic in the diner parking lot, gripping the steering wheel. She'd arrived 10 minutes ago but couldn't make herself go inside. Through the windows she could see a man sitting alone in a corner booth, his back to the wall facing the entrance. Even from a distance, Maya could tell he was expensively dressed. The cut of his suit spoke of custom tailoring, not department stores. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and even the way he held his coffee cup suggested confidence and control. She hesitated, suddenly uncertain. This man was clearly successful, probably used to dating women who made an effort. Her deliberate disaster of an appearance felt childish now, even cruel. But it was too late to change course. Just get it over with, she muttered to herself, grabbing her purse and stepping out into the chilly Detroit evening. Vincent saw her the moment she entered. Despite the unflattering clothes and makeup, there was something in the way she moved, a grace that couldn't be disguised, a watchfulness that spoke of someone who had learned to be aware of her surroundings. Their eyes met across the diner, and Vincent felt something he hadn't experienced in years: curiosity. You must be Maya, he said, standing as she approached. His voice was deeper than she expected, with a slight roughness that suggested he didn't waste words. And you're Vincent, she replied, sliding into the booth across from him. Sorry I'm late. He studied her face, seeing past the poorly applied makeup to the wariness in her eyes. No apology necessary. I appreciate you agreeing to meet. The waitress appeared and Maya ordered coffee, nothing more. Vincent requested the same, though the diner was hardly known for its espresso. So, Maya began awkwardly, Keisha says you own restaurants? Vincent's lips curved slightly. Among other things, I have interests in shipping, real estate, and yes, several restaurants. Sounds successful, Maya commented, fidgeting with her napkin. It's a family business, he replied simply. And you? Keisha mentioned you work here. Maya nodded. Night shift. It pays the bills. Vincent noticed how she offered no elaboration, no dreams or aspirations beyond survival. He recognized the signs of someone who had learned to expect little from life, or from others. You're not what I expected, he said finally. Maya's laugh held no humor. I'm sure Keisha oversold me. Actually, Vincent replied, his gaze steady, I think she undersold you. Maya blinked, caught off guard. You can't be serious. Look at me. I am looking, he said quietly. You're trying very hard to be invisible tonight. I'm curious why. The directness of his question startled her. Most men would have made an excuse and ended the date by now. Maybe I just don't care about impressing you, she challenged. Vincent smiled then, a genuine expression that transformed his serious face. That's refreshing. Most people work very hard to impress me. Something about his smile made Maya's carefully constructed walls waver. There was an honesty in it that she hadn't expected. I should go, she said suddenly, reaching for her purse. This was a mistake. Vincent didn't try to stop her physically, but his next words froze her in place. You're afraid, he observed. Not of me specifically. You're afraid of what happens when you stop being invisible. Maya stared at him, heart pounding. You don't know anything about me. I know you're wearing a wig that doesn't match your natural hair texture. I know your makeup was deliberately applied to make you look worse, not better. I know the sweater you're wearing is at least 3 sizes too large. His voice remained gentle, not accusatory. And I know those are the choices of someone who doesn't want to be seen. Maya felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with her clothing. Why would you want to have dinner with someone who clearly doesn't want to be here? Vincent considered her question seriously. Because beneath everything you're doing to push people away, I see someone worth knowing. The waitress returned with their coffee, breaking the tension. Maya wrapped her hands around the mug, absorbing its warmth. I don't date, she said finally. It's not personal. Vincent nodded. Then let's not call this a date. Let's call it 2 people having coffee. Despite herself, Maya felt a smile tug at her lips. That's semantics. Sometimes semantics matter, he replied. Sometimes the way we frame things changes how we experience them. Maya studied him over the rim of her coffee cup. There was something different about Vincent Moretti. A stillness that suggested he was comfortable in his own skin. A directness that was refreshing after years of navigating men's hidden agendas. 1 coffee, she conceded. But don't expect anything more. Vincent's smile returned, warming his eyes. I never expect. I prefer to be surprised. If you're enjoying Maya and Vincent's unexpected connection, hit that like button. Sometimes the people who see through our disguises are exactly the ones we need most in our lives. As they talked, Maya found herself gradually relaxing. Vincent asked questions that showed genuine interest without prying into areas she clearly wanted to avoid. He spoke of his family with a complex mix of respect and reservation that suggested their relationship wasn't simple. When he mentioned his passion for transforming his family's business legacy, she glimpsed something unexpected. A man with purpose beyond accumulating wealth or power. Why a diner? He asked eventually. For someone clearly intelligent, there must be other options. Maya tensed slightly. Diners are safe. Anonymous. Nobody looks too closely at the waitress. Vincent absorbed this, understanding more than she'd actually said. And being seen feels dangerous. Their eyes met, and for a moment Maya couldn't look away. There was no pity in his gaze, only recognition. As though he understood something fundamental about survival that most people never had to learn. Sometimes it is, she admitted softly. Vincent nodded once. I understand boundaries, Maya. Better than most. As they finished their coffee, Maya realized with surprise that 2 hours had passed. The disaster date she'd planned had transformed into something entirely unexpected. A conversation that had left her feeling seen rather than exposed. When Vincent paid the bill, he didn't suggest meeting again. Instead, he simply handed her his card. Heavy stock, embossed with just his name and a phone number. No pressure, he said. But if you ever want another coffee or perhaps an actual meal next time, the choice is yours. Maya took the card, their fingers brushing momentarily. Why? I'm nobody special. Vincent studied her face one last time, seeing beyond the disguise to the strength beneath. That, he said quietly, is where you're wrong. As he walked her to her car, maintaining a respectful distance, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced in years. The dangerous flicker of possibility. Vincent Moretti had seen through her carefully constructed invisibility to something she'd almost forgotten existed. Good night, Maya, he said, waiting until she was safely inside her car before turning away. Good night, she whispered, watching him walk toward a sleek black Audi where a driver waited. It wasn't until she was halfway home that Maya realized she was still holding his card, turning it over and over between her fingers. The next morning, Maya woke to the sound of her phone buzzing. Keisha's name flashed on the screen. Well, her friend demanded without preamble. How was it? Vincent is gorgeous, right? Did you hit it off? Please tell me you didn't wear that hideous sweater you were threatening me with. Maya stared at the ceiling of her small apartment in Hamtramck, a working-class neighborhood where she'd found refuge after leaving Terrence. I wore the sweater. And the wig. Maya. Keisha's voice rose in horror. Why would you sabotage yourself like that? Vincent is a catch. Do you know how many strings I had to pull to set this up? I didn't ask you to set me up, Maya reminded her, pushing herself out of bed. I told you I'm not interested in dating. It's been 2 years since Terrence, Keisha said, her voice softening. Not every man is like him, you know. Maya closed her eyes, memories washing over her. Terrence's charming smile when they first met at the community college where she'd been taking graphic design classes. His attentiveness, his generosity. The way his temper had emerged so gradually she hardly noticed until it was too late. The escalation from criticism to control to violence. The night she'd finally escaped, running through the rain with nothing but her purse and the clothes on her back. I know that, Maya said finally. Logically, I know that. So how did it go? Keisha pressed. Did he run screaming when he saw the wig? Maya moved to her tiny kitchen, putting on coffee. No. He saw through it. What do you mean? He knew exactly what I was doing. Called me out on it, actually. Maya pulled Vincent's card from her purse, running her thumb over the embossed lettering. He was different. Different how? Keisha's voice had turned curious. Perceptive. Direct. Not pushy. Maya hesitated. He gave me his card. Said the ball was in my court. Keisha squealed so loudly that Maya had to hold the phone away from her ear. I knew it. I knew you two would hit it off. Are you going to call him? I don't know, Maya admitted. Maybe. After hanging up, Maya sat at her small kitchen table staring at Vincent's card. There was something about him that had gotten under her skin. The way he'd seen through her disguise without judgment. The respect he'd shown for her boundaries. The quiet confidence that suggested he had nothing to prove. She pulled out her laptop and typed his name into the search bar. The results made her coffee go cold in her mug. Vincent Moretti. Heir to the Moretti family empire. Rumored connections to organized crime, though nothing had ever been proven. Owner of Stiletto and several other high-end restaurants across Detroit. Major real estate holdings. Philanthropist. Bachelor. There were photos of him at charity galas, at restaurant openings, at his father's funeral 3 years ago. In every image he looked powerful, untouchable. Nothing like the man who had sat across from her in a diner booth, drinking bad coffee and listening to her with genuine interest. Maya closed her laptop, her heart racing. She'd had coffee with a man who was practically Detroit royalty, a man with possible mob connections, and she'd shown up in a Halloween clearance wig and mismatched makeup. Oh my God, she whispered, mortification washing over her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jade. How was the date from hell? Did your ugly plan work? Maya stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Finally she typed, not exactly. I'll tell you at work. That evening Maya arrived at Denny's for her shift, her mind still spinning with thoughts of Vincent. She'd spent the day alternating between embarrassment over her appearance and wariness about who he really was. The articles she'd read painted a complex picture. A man born into a world of power and possibly crime, who seemed to be steering his family's interests toward legitimacy. There she is, Jade called as Maya entered the break room. Spill it. How bad was it? Maya hung up her coat, avoiding her friend's eyes. It wasn't what I expected. What does that mean? Jade leaned forward, eyes gleaming with curiosity. It means. Maya hesitated. He wasn't put off by how I looked. He knew I was trying to look bad on purpose and he called me on it. No way. Jade's eyes widened. What did you do? I almost left. But then. Maya shook her head, still confused by her own reaction. We just talked. For 2 hours. It was nice. Nice. Jade raised an eyebrow. Girl, you haven't described anything as nice since I've known you. Before Maya could respond, their manager stuck his head in. Maya, table 6 is asking for you specifically. Frowning, Maya tied on her apron and headed out to the dining area. Table 6 was in her section, a booth near the back. As she approached, her steps faltered. Vincent Moretti sat there as out of place in Denny's as a wolf in a petting zoo. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, his presence drawing curious glances from other diners. What are you doing here? She asked, stopping at his table. Vincent looked up, his gray eyes warming. Having dinner. At Denny's. Maya couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. There are at least a dozen 5-star restaurants in Detroit that would comp your meal just to have you seen there. A smile played at the corners of his mouth. Perhaps I developed a taste for diner coffee. Maya crossed her arms. You hated the coffee. You barely touched it. You're right, he admitted. But I enjoyed the company. Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks, grateful that her brown skin hid most of her blush. I'm working. I know. I'll order something and stay out of your way. He picked up the laminated menu. What do you recommend? Seriously. Maya glanced around, acutely aware of her co-workers watching with undisguised interest. The Grand Slam is popular. Then that's what I'll have. Vincent closed the menu. And coffee, terrible as it may be. Maya jotted down his order, trying to maintain her professional demeanor despite the butterflies in her stomach. Coming right up. As she walked away, she could feel his eyes on her. Not in the predatory way she'd grown accustomed to from certain customers, but with that same quiet attentiveness he'd shown the night before. Is that him? Jade whispered as they passed each other by the drink station. The blind date. Maya nodded, filling a coffee mug. Girl, you didn't tell me he looked like that. Jade's eyes widened. Or that he was wearing a watch worth more than my car. I didn't notice his watch, Maya muttered, though it was a lie. She'd noticed everything about Vincent Moretti, from his perfectly tailored suit to the small scar near his right eyebrow. Sure you didn't. Jade grinned. And I bet you didn't notice how he hasn't taken his eyes off you since you walked away. Maya delivered Vincent's coffee, setting it down with more force than necessary. Your food will be out shortly. Thank you. He took a sip and grimaced slightly. Still terrible. Despite herself, Maya smiled. Then why are you drinking it? It's part of the experience. Vincent leaned back, studying her. You look different tonight. Maya touched her hair self-consciously. Today she wore it natural, her curls framing her face. Her uniform wasn't flattering, but at least it fit properly. And she'd applied her makeup normally, subtle enhancement rather than deliberate sabotage. This is the real me, she said quietly. Last night was an experiment. I prefer this version, Vincent said. Though I found the experiment intriguing. Maya shifted uncomfortably. I should check on my other tables. For the next hour, Maya moved through her section, taking orders, delivering food, refilling drinks. All the while, she was hyper-aware of Vincent's presence. He ate slowly, occasionally checking his phone, but mostly watching the diner's routine with interest. When other servers offered to refill his coffee, he politely declined, waiting for Maya to return. Finally, during a lull, she approached his table again. Was everything okay? Perfect. He pushed his empty plate away. Though I'm curious why a woman who clearly has other talents is waiting tables at Denny's. Maya stiffened. There's nothing wrong with waiting tables. I didn't say there was, Vincent replied calmly. I'm genuinely curious. You're observant, intelligent, articulate. What brought you here? Maya hesitated, then slid into the booth across from him. Safety, she admitted. Anonymity. A fresh start. Vincent nodded as though her answer confirmed something he'd already suspected. Running from something? Someone, Maya corrected before she could stop herself. Vincent's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. I see. The way he said those two simple words sent a shiver down Maya's spine, not of fear but of recognition. Here was someone who understood exactly what running from someone meant. Is he still a threat? Vincent asked, his voice casual in a way that didn't match the intensity in his eyes. Maya shook her head. He's in Chicago. I'm careful. He doesn't know where I am. Vincent seemed to consider this. Good. An awkward silence fell between them. Maya fidgeted with her order pad, suddenly unsure why she'd shared even that much with him. I should get back to work, she said finally. Of course. Vincent reached for his wallet. What time do you finish? Maya hesitated. Midnight. Why? I'd like to drive you home. He held up a hand as she started to protest. Just to make sure you get there safely. Detroit can be dangerous at night. I take the bus every night, Maya pointed out. I'm fine. I'm sure you are. Vincent placed several bills on the table, far more than his meal cost. The offer stands. No pressure. Maya stood, gathering his dishes. I'll think about it. The rest of her shift passed in a blur. Vincent left after paying, but the weight of his offer remained. At 11:45, as Maya was counting her tips, Jade nudged her. Your man is back, she whispered. And he brought reinforcements. Maya looked up to see Vincent standing by the entrance. Outside, through the glass doors, she could see a black Audi idling at the curb, a broad-shouldered man leaning against it. "He's not my man," Maya muttered, but her heart raced traitorously. "Well, he's somebody's man, and right now he's waiting for you." Jade gave her a gentle push. "Go. Live a little." Maya finished her closing duties, changed out of her uniform in the bathroom, and reluctantly approached Vincent. "You didn't have to come back," she said. "I wanted to." He held the door open for her. "No expectations, Maya. Just a ride home." Outside, the November air bit through her thin jacket. The man by the car straightened as they approached. "This is Anthony," Vincent said. "He drives for me." Anthony nodded respectfully. "Ma'am." The interior of the Audi was warm and smelled of expensive leather. Maya gave her address in Hamtramck, hyper-aware of the contrast between this luxury vehicle and her modest neighborhood. "You don't have to take me all the way," she said as they pulled away from the diner. "You could drop me at the bus stop." Vincent gave her a look that made it clear what he thought of that suggestion. "It's no trouble." They rode in silence for several minutes, the lights of downtown Detroit gliding past the windows. Finally Vincent spoke. "I enjoyed our conversation last night," he said. "Despite your best efforts to ensure I wouldn't." Maya smiled reluctantly. "I wasn't at my best." "I disagree." Vincent turned to face her. "It takes courage to show up even when you're trying not to be seen." Something about his words touched a place deep inside Maya, a place that had been numb for so long she'd forgotten it existed. "Why are you being so nice to me?" she asked suddenly. "You don't even know me." "I'd like to," Vincent replied simply. "If you'll let me." Before Maya could respond, Anthony's voice came from the front seat. "Sir, we have company." Vincent's posture changed instantly, alert and focused. "How many?" "One car, 2 men. They've been following since we left the diner." Maya's pulse quickened. "What's happening?" Vincent's expression was unreadable. "Probably nothing. A precaution I take in my line of work." "Your line of work," Maya repeated. "I looked you up, you know. The restaurants, the real estate. The rumors about your family." Vincent met her gaze steadily. And I'm not sure what to believe." "Believe what you see," he said quietly. "Not what you read." The car turned onto Maya's street, a row of modest duplexes with small front yards. Anthony slowed, checking mirrors constantly. "Sir, they're still with us." Vincent's jaw tightened. "Circle the block. Don't stop." Fear, familiar and bitter, rose in Maya's throat. "Who are they?" "I don't know yet." Vincent's voice was calm, but his eyes were scanning the street. "Business competitors, perhaps. Nothing for you to worry about." "Nothing to worry about?" Maya's voice rose. "There are people following us." Vincent reached across the seat, not touching her but close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Maya, look at me. You're safe. I won't let anything happen to you." The absolute certainty in his voice should have been comforting. Instead, it sent a chill down Maya's spine. This was a man accustomed to danger, and to handling it. "This is why I take the bus," she said, attempting humor despite her racing heart. "No one follows the bus." Vincent's lips curved slightly. "Fair point." Anthony made another turn, his movements smooth and practiced. "They're falling back, sir." "Good." Vincent nodded. "Take us to the safe house on Lafayette. We'll wait there until we're clear." "Wait, no," Maya protested. "I need to go home. I have work tomorrow." "And you will," Vincent assured her. "Once I'm certain you won't have unwanted visitors." The realization hit Maya like a physical blow. "You think they're following because of me?" "Because I was with you." Vincent's silence was answer enough. "Great," Maya muttered. "I finally agreed to one coffee with a guy and now I'm in the middle of some, what? Mob thing." "It's not a mob thing," Vincent said, though his tone lacked conviction. "It's business." "Right. Business that involves being followed by mysterious cars in the middle of the night." Maya crossed her arms. "This is exactly why I don't date." To her surprise, Vincent laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his serious face. "I can see why Keisha thought we'd get along." Despite everything, Maya felt herself smiling. "Because we're both paranoid? Because neither of us is easily intimidated," he corrected. The car pulled into an underground garage beneath a sleek high-rise in Lafayette Park, an upscale neighborhood near downtown. Anthony parked near an elevator, then got out to open Vincent's door. "We'll wait here for 30 minutes, Vincent told Maya. "If there's no further sign of our friends, Anthony will take you home." Maya hesitated. Every instinct honed during her relationship with Terrence screamed that getting into an elevator with a man she barely knew was dangerous. But another part of her, a part she'd thought long dead, whispered that Vincent Moretti was different. 30 minutes, she agreed finally. Then home. The elevator opened directly into a penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Detroit River. The space was minimally furnished but elegant, all clean lines and neutral tones. "Make yourself comfortable," Vincent said, removing his suit jacket. "Would you like something to drink? Water? Wine?" "Water is fine." Maya remained standing, taking in her surroundings. "You just happen to have an empty apartment ready?" "It's a business property," Vincent explained, filling 2 glasses from a filtered tap in the kitchen. "We keep it for out-of-town associates or situations that require discretion." "Situations like being followed after picking up waitresses from Denny's?" Maya accepted the water, careful not to let their fingers touch. Vincent smiled slightly. "That's a first, actually." Maya moved to the windows, gazing out at the city lights reflecting on the river. Detroit at night had its own stark beauty, a city of contrasts, struggling and resilient. "It's a beautiful view," she said softly. Vincent came to stand beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. "One of the best in the city." They stood in silence for a moment, the space between them charged with unspoken questions. "Who were those men?" Maya finally asked. "The ones following us?" Vincent sighed, his reflection in the glass looking suddenly tired. "Honestly, I'm not sure. Could be the Albanians, they've been pushing into our territory lately. Could be the Colombians, nervous about tomorrow's meeting. Could even be federal agents." "Federal agents?" Maya turned to face him. "Are you under investigation?" "My family has been under investigation for 3 generations, Vincent said matter-of-factly. "It comes with the territory." Maya took a sip of her water, studying him over the rim of her glass. "And what territory is that, exactly? You really want to know?" Vincent's gray eyes held hers steadily. "I think I deserve to know why I'm standing in a secret penthouse instead of my own apartment right now." Vincent nodded, gesturing toward the sleek leather sofa. Maya sat and he took the chair opposite, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. "My grandfather came to Detroit from Sicily in 1947, he began. He started with nothing, worked on the assembly lines at Ford, saved every penny. Eventually bought a small restaurant in Greektown. Back then, if you wanted to succeed as an immigrant, you needed protection. You paid certain people to ensure your business wasn't vandalized, your family wasn't harassed." Maya listened, fascinated despite herself. "My grandfather was smart. Instead of just paying for protection, he became the protection. By the time my father was born, the Moretti name meant something in Detroit." Vincent's voice held a complex mix of pride and something like regret. "My father expanded the business. Restaurants, nightclubs, construction, waste management. Some legitimate, some less so." "And you?" Maya asked quietly. "I'm trying to change things." Vincent ran a hand through his dark hair. "Legitimate businesses only. No more protection rackets, no more gambling operations, no more street-level stuff. Just restaurants, real estate, shipping. Things that can operate in the light." "Is that even possible?" Maya couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. "Can you just walk away from that life?" "Not overnight," Vincent admitted. "It's a process. My father's old associates don't all appreciate the direction I'm taking. Neither do our competitors, who see our transition as weakness." He smiled wryly. "Change makes people nervous." Maya absorbed this, trying to reconcile the man before her, thoughtful, articulate, seemingly honest, with the implications of his family business. "So those men following us could be anyone who thinks getting to me would give them an advantage." Vincent's expression darkened. "Which is why I'm sorry I involved you in this. It was selfish of me to come to the diner tonight." "Why did you?" Maya asked, genuinely curious. Vincent was quiet for a moment. Because in all the business meetings, charity galas, and family obligations that fill my days, those 2 hours with you were the most real conversation I've had in years. The simple honesty of his answer caught Maya off guard. Before she could respond, Vincent's phone buzzed. He checked it, then stood. Anthony says we're clear. No sign of the tail. He slipped the phone back into his pocket. He'll take you home now. Maya rose, suddenly reluctant to leave. Thank you. For being honest with me. You asked, Vincent said simply. I respect that. In the elevator, Maya found herself studying his profile. This is crazy, you know. All of it. Which part? Vincent asked, a hint of amusement in his voice. The part where I dressed ugly for a blind date with a man who turned out to be connected to the mob. The part where I'm now standing in a secret penthouse after being followed through Detroit at midnight. Maya shook her head. Pick one. Vincent laughed softly. When you put it that way, it does sound like the plot of a bad movie. A very bad movie, Maya agreed, but she was smiling. The ride back to her apartment was uneventful. Anthony confirmed several times that they weren't being followed, and Vincent visibly relaxed as they entered Maya's neighborhood. I'll walk you to your door, he said as the car stopped in front of her duplex. That's not necessary, Maya protested. Humor me. Vincent was already getting out of the car. The night air was cold, their breath forming small clouds as they walked up the short path to Maya's front door. The porch light cast a warm glow over them as she fumbled for her keys. Thank you for the ride, she said, suddenly awkward. And for explaining things. Vincent nodded. I'm sorry about the complications. It's fine. Maya hesitated, then added, it was actually the most interesting night I've had in a long time. High praise, Vincent said with a small smile. Though perhaps that says more about your social life than my company. Maya laughed, the sound surprising her. When was the last time she had genuinely laughed? Maybe both. They stood in silence for a moment, the air between them charged with possibility. I should go in, Maya said finally. You should. Vincent made no move to leave. Maya, I'd like to see you again. But I understand if tonight was too much. If I'm too much. Maya looked up at him, this dangerous, complicated man who had seen through her disguise and still wanted to know her. Every instinct for self-preservation told her to say no, to lock her door and never look back. But something else, something she thought Terrence had destroyed forever, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was worth the risk. I work tomorrow night, she said. But I'm off Thursday. Vincent's smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. Thursday then. I'll call you. You don't have my number, Maya pointed out. Give it to me now. Maya recited her number, watching as Vincent programmed it into his phone. When he finished, he looked at her with those perceptive gray eyes. Good night, Maya Jenkins. Good night, Vincent Moretti. She watched from her window as he returned to the car, waiting until the taillights disappeared around the corner before finally allowing herself to breathe. If you're feeling that flutter of possibility that comes with taking a chance on someone unexpected, hit that like button. Sometimes the most beautiful beginnings come from the most unlikely meetings. Thursday arrived with a nervous energy Maya hadn't felt in years. Vincent had texted the day before, suggesting dinner at 7 o'clock. No details, just an address in Eastern Market that Maya didn't recognize. She stood before her closet, paralyzed by indecision. What did one wear on a date with a man like Vincent Moretti? The few nice outfits she'd managed to rebuild after leaving everything behind in Chicago suddenly seemed woefully inadequate. Her phone buzzed with a text from Keisha. Details. Jade says he came to Denny's. Maya smiled, typing back, yes. Having dinner with him tonight. 3 dots appeared immediately, followed by, what are you wearing? No idea. Help. 20 minutes later, Keisha was at her door, garment bag in hand. Emergency fashion intervention, she announced, sweeping past Maya into the apartment. I brought options. The options turned out to be 3 dresses that Keisha insisted would be perfect. Maya eyed them skeptically. Where did these come from? And why do you have my size? I've been shopping for you for 2 years, Keisha said, hanging the garment bag on Maya's bedroom door. Every time I see something that would look amazing on you, I buy it and save it for when you finally rejoin the land of the living. Maya blinked, touched by her friend's persistent faith in her. Keisha. Don't get all emotional on me, Keisha warned, unzipping the bag. Just try them on. An hour later, Maya stood before her mirror, hardly recognizing herself. The dress Keisha had chosen was simple but elegant, a deep burgundy wrap style that highlighted her curves without being too revealing. Her natural curls framed her face, and Keisha had insisted on doing her makeup, enhancing her features with a subtle touch that made her dark eyes seem even more luminous. There she is, Keisha said softly, standing behind Maya. The Maya I remember from before. Maya stared at her reflection, a lump forming in her throat. She had spent so long trying to be invisible that she'd almost forgotten what it felt like to want to be seen. Thank you, she whispered. Keisha squeezed her shoulders. Just promise me one thing. If this guy turns out to be anything like Terrence. He's not, Maya interrupted. But if he does, Keisha insisted, you call me immediately. No waiting, no second chances. You call me and I come get you. Maya nodded, grateful for her friend's fierce protectiveness. I promise. At 6:45, Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Vincent. Car is outside whenever you're ready. Taking a deep breath, Maya grabbed her purse and coat. Here goes nothing, she murmured to herself. Outside, the same black Audi waited at the curb. Anthony stood beside it, opening the door as she approached. To her surprise, Vincent wasn't inside. Instead, Anthony handed her an envelope after she was seated. Mr. Moretti asked me to give you this, he said. Inside the envelope was a handwritten note. Maya, I'll meet you at the restaurant. This gives you an out if you've changed your mind. Just tell Anthony and he'll take you wherever you want to go. No questions, no hard feelings. V. Maya smiled, touched by the thoughtfulness of the gesture. I haven't changed my mind, she told Anthony. The restaurant, please. The address turned out to be a small, unmarked building in Eastern Market. From the outside, it looked closed with no sign or visible entrance. Anthony led her to a discreet door at the side, where a man in a suit nodded in recognition and opened it for them. Inside was a restaurant unlike any Maya had seen before. Intimate and elegant with only 8 tables, each set far enough apart to ensure privacy. Soft jazz played in the background, and the lighting was warm and flattering. At a table near the back, Vincent stood as she entered. Maya's breath caught. He wore a charcoal suit that fit him perfectly, his dark hair slightly tousled as though he'd run his hand through it. But it was his expression as he saw her that made her heart skip. A look of genuine appreciation and something deeper, more intense. You look beautiful, he said as she reached the table. Thank you. Maya allowed him to help her with her coat, hyper-aware of his proximity. This place is amazing. I didn't even know it existed. Few people do, Vincent replied, taking his seat across from her. It's not officially open yet. The chef is a friend who owed me a favor. You closed an entire restaurant for our date? Maya couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. Vincent smiled. I wanted somewhere we could talk without interruption, without being followed. A waiter appeared with champagne, pouring 2 glasses before disappearing as silently as he'd arrived. To second impressions, Vincent said, raising his glass. Maya clinked her glass against his. Much better than the first. I disagree, Vincent said, his eyes warm. The first was memorable in its own way. As they sipped their champagne, Maya found herself relaxing. There was something about Vincent's focused attention that made her feel like the only person in the world. No menu, she asked, noticing the empty table. I took the liberty of asking the chef to prepare his specialties, Vincent said. Unless you have preferences or restrictions? Maya shook her head. I trust your judgment. The words slipped out before she could consider their weight. Vincent's eyes met hers, and she knew he understood what it cost her to say them. I won't abuse that trust, he said quietly. The first course arrived, a delicate seafood appetizer that melted in Maya's mouth. As they ate, Vincent asked about her day, listening with genuine interest to her mundane stories about the bus breaking down and the neighbor's dog escaping again. You make ordinary life sound fascinating, he commented. Maya laughed. Compared to your life, I'm sure it is. No mysterious followers or secret penthouses in my daily routine. That's precisely why it's refreshing. Vincent's expression turned thoughtful. My world is complicated. Full of people who want something from me, who calculate every interaction based on what they might gain. And what do I have that you might want? Maya asked boldly. Vincent considered her question seriously. Honesty. You showed up to our first meeting deliberately trying to drive me away. That's more honest than most people I meet. Maya smiled, remembering her ridiculous disguise. Not my finest moment. I disagree, Vincent said. It showed character. And courage. The main course arrived. Perfectly seared duck with a cherry reduction, accompanied by roasted vegetables. Maya took a bite and closed her eyes in appreciation. This is incredible, she murmured. Vincent watched her with evident pleasure. The chef trained in Paris. I've been trying to convince him to open a restaurant with me for years. Why hasn't he? Maya asked. He says he doesn't want the pressure of a full restaurant. Prefers these private dinners where he can cook what he wants for people who appreciate it. Vincent took a sip of the red wine that had appeared with their entree. I understand his perspective. There's something to be said for keeping your passion pure, uncomplicated by business. Maya studied him over her wine glass. Is that why you're trying to legitimize your family business? To uncomplicate things? Vincent's expression turned serious. Partly. My father died in a hail of bullets outside a restaurant in Greek town. He was having dinner with a business associate who had apparently crossed the wrong people. His voice was matter-of-fact, but Maya could hear the old pain beneath the words. I was 37. Old enough to know exactly what kind of life he'd led, young enough to believe I could change things. I'm sorry, Maya said softly. Vincent nodded. The irony is he wanted me to go legitimate. Sent me to the best schools, insisted I learn business the proper way. But he couldn't leave his world behind even when he had the chance. And you can? Maya asked. I'm trying. Vincent's gray eyes held hers. It's not simple. There are obligations, loyalties, expectations. People who depend on me for their livelihoods. But I believe it's possible to honor those commitments while building something better. Maya was struck by his sincerity. This wasn't the romanticized version of a mobster with a heart of gold that movies love to portray. This was a man grappling with a complex legacy, trying to find a path forward that honored his past without being trapped by it. What about you? Vincent asked, shifting the focus. You mentioned Chicago. What brought you to Detroit? Maya tensed slightly. She rarely spoke about her past, had become expert at deflecting such questions. But Vincent had been honest with her, even about difficult truths. I was running, she said finally, from a relationship that turned dangerous. Vincent's expression remained neutral, but she noticed his hand tighten slightly around his wine glass. How dangerous? Enough that I left everything behind. Maya took a deep breath. Terrence, my ex, he was charming at first. Kind of made me feel special. By the time I realized what was happening, he had isolated me from friends, convinced me to quit school, made me dependent on him financially. She paused, surprised by how steady her voice remained. The first time he hit me, he cried afterward. Said it would never happen again. I believed him. But it wasn't the last time, Vincent said quietly. Maya shook her head. It escalated. Controlling behavior, then verbal abuse, then physical. The night I left, he had threatened to kill me if I ever tried to leave him. I waited until he passed out drunk, took what cash I could find and ran. Bought a bus ticket to Detroit because it was the next one leaving. I had never even been here before. Vincent was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. Does he know where you are? No. I changed my phone, my email, everything. Cut contact with mutual friends. Even my family doesn't know exactly where I am. Just that I'm safe. Maya smiled sadly. That's why I work at Denny's. It's anonymous. It pays cash. It's the last place someone like Terrence would look for me. You're very brave, Vincent said, and there was something in his tone that made Maya look up sharply. I'm a survivor, she corrected. There's a difference. No, Vincent shook his head. Surviving is continuing to exist despite circumstances. What you did, leaving everything behind, starting over in a strange city, building a new life. That's courage. Maya felt warmth spread through her chest at his words. For so long she had seen her situation as a failure. Her failure to recognize Terrence's true nature, her failure to leave sooner, her failure to maintain the life she'd once had. Vincent's perspective shifted something inside her. Thank you, she said softly, for seeing it that way. Their conversation flowed easily through dessert, a delicate chocolate soufflé that the chef himself brought to their table. Maya found herself laughing more than she had in years, drawn out of her carefully maintained reserve by Vincent's dry wit and genuine interest. As the evening drew to a close, Vincent walked her to the car, his hand resting lightly at the small of her back. The touch was gentle, respectful, but Maya was acutely aware of the warmth of his palm through the thin fabric of her dress. I had a wonderful time, she said as Anthony held the car door open. As did I. Vincent hesitated, then asked, would you like to see my favorite view of the city? It's not far from here. Maya checked her watch, just past 9. I'd like that. Anthony drove them to Belle Isle, the island park in the Detroit River. At night, with the city lights reflecting on the water, it was magical. Vincent led Maya to a secluded spot overlooking the river. The Detroit skyline spread before them like a constellation of earthbound stars. It's beautiful, Maya breathed, pulling her coat tighter against the November chill. This is where I come to think, Vincent said, standing beside her. When decisions are difficult or the weight of family expectations becomes too heavy. Maya glanced at him, struck by the vulnerability in his admission. And does it help? Coming here? Usually. Vincent turned to face her, his expression serious in the dim light. Maya, I want to be clear about something. I'm drawn to you in a way I haven't experienced in a very long time. But my life is complicated, as you now know. There are risks involved in being associated with me. Like being followed by mysterious cars? Maya asked, attempting to lighten the moment. Vincent smiled slightly. Among other things, I would understand completely if you decided this isn't something you want to pursue. Maya considered his words carefully. The rational part of her brain, the part that had kept her safe these past 2 years, was screaming caution. Vincent Moretti represented exactly the kind of complication she had been avoiding. His world contained dangers she had fled Detroit to escape. But there was something else, something that had been awakening since that first night in the diner. A recognition that in trying to stay safe she had stopped living. That invisibility, while protective, was its own kind of prison. I'm not afraid of complicated, she said finally. I'm afraid of being controlled. Of losing myself again. Vincent nodded, understanding in his eyes. I would never try to control you, Maya. That's not what I want. What do you want? She asked softly. To know you, he replied simply. To see who you are when you're not hiding. To discover if this connection between us is as real as it feels. The honesty in his voice touched something deep inside Maya. Before she could second-guess herself, she stepped closer, tilting her face up to his. Vincent's kiss was gentle at first, a question rather than a demand. When Maya responded, her hands coming up to rest on his chest, the kiss deepened, becoming something more urgent, more honest. His arms encircled her, strong but not confining, and Maya felt something inside her unfurl. A part of herself she had locked away for protection now cautiously reaching toward the light. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since I saw you walk into the diner in that ridiculous wig. Maya laughed, the sound carrying across the quiet water. That was the point of the wig, to make sure no one wanted to kiss me. It failed spectacularly, Vincent murmured, brushing a curl from her face. They stood together for a long moment, the city lights reflecting on the water, the night air cold but the space between them warm with possibility. I should get you home, Vincent said finally. It's getting late. The drive back to Maya's apartment was quiet, a comfortable silence settling between them. Vincent walked her to her door again, this time taking her hand as they moved up the path. Thank you for tonight, Maya said, keys in hand. For dinner, for the view, for everything. Thank you for giving me a chance, Vincent replied. Despite the complications. He kissed her again softly before stepping back. I'll call you tomorrow? Maya nodded, a smile playing at her lips. I'd like that. Inside her apartment, Maya leaned against the closed door, her heart racing. What was she doing? Getting involved with Vincent Moretti was possibly the most reckless decision she had made since fleeing Chicago. His world contained dangers she couldn't fully comprehend, connections that could put her at risk. And yet for the first time in 2 years she felt truly alive. Not just surviving but feeling Hope, excitement, possibility. The very emotions she had suppressed to stay safe were now flowing through her veins like electricity. Her phone buzzed with a text from Vincent. "Thank you for a perfect evening. Sleep well, Maya." She smiled, typing back, "You too." As she got ready for bed, Maya caught sight of herself in the bathroom mirror. The woman who looked back at her was different from the one who had deliberately made herself ugly for a blind date just days ago. This woman's eyes were bright, her cheeks flushed, her expression open in a way it hadn't been for years. "What are you doing, Maya Jenkins?" she whispered to her reflection. But she already knew the answer. She was taking a chance, stepping out of the shadows, allowing herself to be seen. If you believe in second chances and the courage it takes to be truly seen, hit that like button. Sometimes the greatest risk is opening your heart after it's been broken. Over the next few weeks, Maya and Vincent settled into a rhythm that felt both exciting and surprisingly comfortable. He respected her work schedule, never pressuring her to change it to accommodate his. Instead, he adapted, sometimes meeting her for late dinners after her shift, other times arranging his meetings so they could spend afternoons together on her days off. Maya discovered that Vincent was a man of contrast. In business settings, which she occasionally glimpsed when he invited her to join him for lunch at Stiletto, he was commanding, decisive, sometimes intimidating. But alone with her, he was attentive, often playful, and unfailingly respectful of her boundaries. "You're different with me," she observed one evening as they walked along the Detroit Riverwalk, bundled against the December cold. "More relaxed." Vincent considered this, his breath forming clouds in the winter air. "With you, I don't have to be Vincent Moretti, heir to the family business. I can just be Vincent." "And who is that?" Maya asked, genuinely curious. "Just Vincent." He smiled, squeezing her gloved hand. "I'm still figuring that out. But I like who I am when I'm with you." The admission touched Maya deeply. She understood what it meant to be rediscovering yourself after being lost. Not everything was smooth sailing. There were moments when Vincent's world intruded on their developing relationship. Twice more they noticed cars following them. Once, at Stiletto, a business associate approached their table with barely concealed surprise at seeing Vincent dining with a woman, and a black woman at that. Vincent had handled it smoothly, introducing Maya with such natural authority that the man's surprise quickly turned to deference. But Maya had felt the weight of unspoken questions, the subtle assessment in the man's eyes. "Does it bother you?" she asked later. "The looks we get sometimes?" Vincent's expression hardened. "It bothers me that anyone would question my choice of companion. But their opinions are irrelevant to me." "Even in your world?" Maya pressed. "Where connections and alliances seem to matter so much?" "Especially in my world," Vincent replied firmly. "I've spent my life navigating other people's expectations. I won't let them dictate my personal happiness." The answer reassured Maya, though she still wondered sometimes if she was getting in over her head. Vincent's life operated by different rules than the ordinary world, rules she was only beginning to understand. One snowy evening in mid-December, Maya was closing up at Denny's when the door chimed. Looking up, she expected to see Vincent, who had texted that he would pick her up after work. Instead, two men she didn't recognize entered, their expressions setting off immediate alarm bells in her mind. "Sorry, we're closed," she called, instinctively backing toward the kitchen where Jade and the cook were finishing cleanup. "We're not here to eat," the taller of the two men said, his accent Eastern European. "We're here to deliver a message to Vincent Moretti." Maya's blood ran cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." The man smiled, the expression never reaching his eyes. "Come now. Everyone knows Moretti's new plaything works here. The black waitress who suddenly has his protection." Jade emerged from the kitchen, freezing when she saw the men. "Maya? Everything okay?" "Call Vincent," Maya said quietly, never taking her eyes off the intruders. "Yow." The shorter man took a step forward. "Tell Moretti that Mr. Kosloff is disappointed in his decision regarding the waterfront property. Very disappointed." "I don't know anything about any property," Maya said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Perhaps not," the tall man conceded. "But you will tell him our message, yes? And remind him that disappointment can be dangerous for everyone involved." Before Maya could respond, the door opened again. Anthony stepped in, his broad frame filling the entrance. Behind him, Maya could see Vincent's car idling at the curb. "Gentlemen," Anthony said, his tone deceptively casual. "Mr. Moretti is waiting outside. He'd like a word." The two men exchanged glances, their confidence visibly faltering. "We've delivered our message," the tall one said, moving toward the door. "No need for further discussion." Anthony stepped aside to let them pass, his eyes never leaving them until they disappeared into the snowy night. Then he turned to Maya. "Are you all right, Miss Jenkins?" Maya nodded, though her hands were shaking. "Yes. Thank you." Outside, Maya could see Vincent standing beside his car, speaking to the two men. Even from a distance, his posture radiated controlled anger. The conversation was brief, the men departing quickly in a waiting vehicle. When Maya emerged, bundled in her coat, Vincent immediately moved to her side. "Did they threaten you?" he asked, his voice tight with barely contained fury. "Not directly," Maya said. "They wanted me to give you a message about some waterfront property. From someone named Koslov." Vincent's jaw clenched. "I'm sorry, Maya. This is exactly what I was concerned about. My business affecting you." "It's not your fault," she said, though the encounter had shaken her more than she wanted to admit. In the car, Vincent was unusually quiet, his expression distant. Maya could almost see him withdrawing, building walls between them. "Don't," she said suddenly. Vincent glanced at her. "Don't what?" "Don't pull away. Don't decide what's best for me without asking me." Maya turned in her seat to face him fully. "I'm not fragile, Vincent. I've dealt with intimidation before." "This is different," he argued. "These men are trying to get to you through me," Maya finished. "I understand that. But pushing me away doesn't solve the problem. It just lets them win." Vincent was silent for a long moment. Finally, he reached across the seat to take her hand. "You're right. I'm sorry. Besides," Maya added, attempting to lighten the mood, "I'm pretty sure Anthony could have taken both of them with one hand tied behind his back." Vincent's lips curved slightly. "Without question." When they reached Maya's apartment, Vincent insisted on checking inside before letting her enter. It was a precaution that would have seemed excessive weeks ago but now felt necessary. "Everything's clear," he said, returning to where she waited in the living room. "I'm going to have someone watch your place tonight, just to be safe." Maya nodded, too tired to argue. The adrenaline from the encounter was wearing off, leaving her drained. Vincent moved to leave, but Maya caught his hand. "Stay," she said softly. "Please." He searched her face. "Are you sure?" "Yes." Maya had never been more certain of anything. "I don't want to be alone tonight." Vincent stayed, holding her through the night with a tenderness that brought tears to her eyes. They didn't make love, it wasn't about that. It was about comfort, about connection, about refusing to let fear drive them apart. In the morning, as pale winter sunlight filtered through her curtains, Maya watched Vincent sleeping beside her. His face in repose looked younger, the lines of responsibility temporarily erased. She traced the scar near his eyebrow with a gentle finger, wondering about the story behind it. Vincent's eyes opened, catching her in the act. "Good morning," he said, his voice rough with sleep. "Morning." Maya smiled, not withdrawing her hand. "How did you get this scar?" Vincent captured her fingers, pressing a kiss to her palm. "Motorcycle accident when I was 19. My father was furious, said I was being reckless with the family's future." "Were you being reckless?" "Absolutely." His smile was rueful. "I was rebelling against everything back then. The family business, my father's expectations, the path that had been laid out for me since birth." Maya settled against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "What changed?" "Reality," Vincent said simply. "My father was shot when I was 22, not fatally that time but bad enough to put him in the hospital for weeks. I had to step up, handle things. Discovered I was good at it." He absently stroked her hair. "By the time I realized I was fully immersed in the life I'd tried to escape, it was too late to walk away." "And now?" Maya asked. "Are you still trying to escape?" Vincent was quiet for a moment. "Not escape. Transform. There's a difference." They lay together in comfortable silence, the morning light strengthening around them. Maya felt a peace she hadn't experienced in years, a sense of being exactly where she belonged. "I should make coffee," she said eventually, making no move to get up. Vincent tightened his arms around her. Not yet. The moment was interrupted by Vincent's phone buzzing on the nightstand. He checked it, his expression turning serious. I need to go, he said, sitting up. Business that can't wait. Maya nodded, trying to hide her disappointment. The waterfront property? Among other things. Vincent cupped her face gently. Will you be all right? After last night. I'll be fine, Maya assured him. I have the late shift today, so I'll probably just catch up on laundry and errands. Vincent hesitated. I'd feel better if you had someone with you. Vincent, Maya said firmly, I've been taking care of myself for a long time. I appreciate your concern, but I don't need a bodyguard to go to the grocery store. He studied her face, then nodded. You're right. I'm being overprotective. Yes, you are. Maya softened her words with a smile. But it's kind of nice in small doses. Vincent kissed her goodbye at the door, lingering as though reluctant to leave. I'll call you later, he promised. After he left, Maya went about her morning routine, trying to shake off the lingering unease from the previous night's encounter. She had just finished her laundry when her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Hello, she answered cautiously. Maya Jenkins? A woman's voice, cool and professional. Yes, who's this? My name is Sophia Ricci. We need to talk about Vincent Moretti. Maya's heart skipped. Sophia, the woman Vincent had mentioned whose betrayal had left him closed off for years. I don't think we have anything to discuss, Maya said, her guard instantly up. I think we do, Sophia replied. For your own safety. Meet me at the Detroit Institute of Arts in 1 hour by the Rivera murals. Come alone. Why would I do that? Maya demanded. Because I know things about Vincent that you need to hear. Things that could save your life. The line went dead before Maya could respond. Maya stared at her phone, conflicted. Every instinct told her this was a trap, that meeting Sophia was exactly what she shouldn't do. And yet curiosity gnawed at her. What did this woman know? What had happened between her and Vincent? After 20 minutes of internal debate, Maya made her decision. She would go, but on her terms. She texted Keisha, meeting someone at the DIA at noon. If you don't hear from me by 1 o'clock, call this number. She added Vincent's number, then grabbed her coat. The Detroit Institute of Arts was busy with the Saturday lunch crowd when Maya arrived. She made her way to the Rivera Court, where Diego Rivera's famous Detroit industry murals covered the walls. Standing before them, studying the depiction of workers at the Ford Rouge plant, was a striking woman in her late 30s. Sophia. Maya approached cautiously. The woman turned, assessing Maya with cool blue eyes. She was beautiful in a polished, expensive way. Designer coat, perfect makeup, not a hair out of place. Maya. Sophia nodded. Thank you for coming. Let's walk. They moved through the museum, maintaining a conversational distance. Maya kept her guard up, aware of every exit, every security guard. You're not what I expected, Sophia said finally. What did you expect? Vincent usually prefers more sophisticated women. Sophia's tone made the words an insult, though her face remained pleasant for anyone watching. Maya refused to take the bait. What do you want, Sophia? To warn you. Sophia stopped before a Renaissance painting, pretending to study it. Vincent Moretti is not the man you think he is. And you know this because? Because I was engaged to him for 2 years. Sophia turned to face Maya directly. Until I discovered what he was really capable of. Maya kept her expression neutral, though her mind was racing. Vincent had never mentioned an engagement. What exactly are you suggesting? She asked. Vincent is dangerous, Sophia said bluntly. Not just because of his family connections, but because of who he is at his core. He's controlling, possessive, ruthless when crossed. That hasn't been my experience, Maya countered. Sophia smiled thinly. Not yet. It starts wonderfully. He's attentive, generous, makes you feel like the center of his universe. Then slowly the control begins. Who you see, where you go, what you wear. All for your protection, of course. The words hit uncomfortably close to Maya's experience with Terrence. He pushed the thought away. Why are you telling me this? She demanded. What do you get out of warning me? Peace of mind, Sophia replied. I got out before it was too late. Others haven't been so lucky. Others. Maya's voice sharpened. What others? Ask Vincent about Elise Cardona, Sophia said. Ask him what happened to her after she tried to leave him. Before Maya could respond, Sophia glanced at her watch. I've said what I came to say. Be careful, Maya. Vincent Moretti doesn't let go of what he considers his. With that she walked away, her heels clicking on the museum floor. Maya stood frozen, Sophia's words echoing in her mind. She wanted to dismiss them as the bitter accusations of a jealous ex, but something in the woman's certainty had planted a seed of doubt. She texted Keisha that she was fine, then left the museum needing fresh air to clear her head. Outside, the December cold slapped at her cheeks as she walked aimlessly, trying to process what she'd just heard. Her phone buzzed with a text from Vincent. Meeting running long. Can I see you tonight after your shift? Maya stared at the message, suddenly uncertain. Was Vincent the man she believed him to be? Complicated but honest, protective but respectful? Or was Sophia right? Was she falling into the same pattern that had nearly destroyed her with Terrence? Yes, she texted back finally. We need to talk. That evening, Maya moved through her shift at Denny's on autopilot, Sophia's words playing on repeat in her mind. Who was Elise Cardona? What had happened to her? And why had Vincent never mentioned being engaged? When her shift ended, she found Vincent waiting in his car outside as promised. He greeted her with a kiss but pulled back when he felt her tension. What's wrong? He asked immediately. Not here, Maya said. Can we go somewhere private? Vincent studied her face, concern evident in his eyes. Of course. They drove in silence to the penthouse on Lafayette, the same one where they'd taken refuge the night they were followed. Once inside, Maya paced the living room, gathering her courage. I met Sophia today, she said finally. Vincent went still. Sophia contacted you? She called me, asked to meet at the D. Maya watched his face carefully. She had some interesting things to say about you. I'm sure she did. Vincent's voice was controlled, but Maya could see the tension in his jaw. May I ask what specifically? She said you were engaged. Maya crossed her arms. You never mentioned that. It was 3 years ago, Vincent said quietly. It ended badly. How badly? Maya pressed. And who is Elise Cardona? Vincent's expression darkened. Sophia told you about Elise. She told me to ask you what happened to her after she tried to leave you. Maya held his gaze steadily. So I'm asking. Vincent moved to the windows, looking out at the city lights. For a long moment he was silent. When he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with old pain. Elise Cardona was my girlfriend before Sophia. We were together for almost a year. He turned to face Maya. She didn't try to leave me. She was killed in a car accident on her way to meet me for dinner. Maya's breath caught. What? It was winter, roads were icy. She lost control on the Lodge freeway. Vincent's eyes held Maya's. Sophia knows this. She's twisting the truth to manipulate you. Why would she do that? Maya asked, though she was already beginning to suspect. Because Sophia was the one who betrayed me, Vincent said simply. Not the other way around. I found her in bed with my business partner, a man who had been working with the FBI to build a case against my family. Maya sank onto the sofa, trying to process this information. She was informing on you? On all of us. Vincent's smile was bitter. The engagement, the relationship, it was all part of her cover. She was an undercover agent the entire time. The revelation stunned Maya. That's why you haven't dated since. Vincent nodded, coming to sit beside her. Trust doesn't come easily to me anymore. Until you. Maya studied his face, looking for any sign of deception. She found only openness and a vulnerability that touched her deeply. I believe you, she said finally. But I needed to ask. I needed to know. I understand. Vincent took her hand gently. Maya, I've never lied to you. My world is complicated, sometimes dangerous. But how I feel about you, that's the simplest, most honest thing in my life. Maya leaned into him, relief washing through her. I'm sorry I doubted you. Don't be. Vincent wrapped his arms around her. Doubt keeps us honest. Keeps us questioning. It's blind faith that gets people hurt. They sat together in comfortable silence, the city lights twinkling beyond the windows. Maya felt the last of her tension drain away, replaced by a certainty that had been building for weeks. Vincent, she said softly, take me to bed." His eyes darkened as he searched her face. "Are you sure?" In answer, Maya kissed him, pouring all her feelings into the connection between them. Vincent responded with equal passion, lifting her into his arms and carrying her to the bedroom. Their lovemaking was tender at first, then increasingly urgent. A physical expression of the trust they had built, the barriers they had overcome. For Maya, who had not been intimate with anyone since Terence, it was a revelation. Vincent was attentive, responsive, focused entirely on her pleasure. Afterwards, lying in his arms, Maya felt a sense of homecoming she had never experienced before. This was what it meant to be truly seen, truly known, and still wanted. "I love you," Vincent whispered against her hair. "I didn't plan to. Didn't expect to. But I do." Maya raised herself on one elbow to look into his eyes. "I love you too," she said, the words feeling both terrifying and absolutely right. "And that scares me more than anything else about you." Vincent smiled, tracing her cheek with gentle fingers. "Being afraid and doing it anyway, that's the definition of courage. Or insanity," Maya teased. "Sometimes they're the same thing." Vincent pulled her close again. "Stay with me tonight?" "Yes," Maya said simply. "Tonight and maybe more nights." As she drifted toward sleep in Vincent's arms, Maya reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From dressing ugly for a blind date to falling in love with a man whose world was so different from her own. From hiding in the shadows to stepping into the light, visible and vulnerable and stronger for it. The black waitress who had tried so hard to be invisible had found herself truly seen for the first time, by a man who had looked past every disguise to the person beneath. And in that seeing, they had both found something neither expected. A future together, complicated and uncertain, but filled with possibility. If you believe that sometimes the people who see us most clearly are the ones we least expect, leave a heart in the comments. And if Maya's journey from invisibility to being truly seen touched something in you, subscribe for more stories that remind us that love often finds us when we're least prepared, but perhaps when we need it most.